Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was, for the third week in a row, Everything Everywhere All at Once, making $3.3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $47 million and a worldwide total of $51 million. Once again, not only is Everything Everywhere All at Once continuing to impress everyone at the box office, but it also had the best hold out of any of the films released in the top 5 this weekend, falling an outstanding 6% from last weekend, which is incredible and just shows the magnitude of this film's success. It continues to do extremely well, and I cannot be more than happy with seeing as how well this movie is continuing to do for itself, and it's on the verge of doubling its $25 million budget domestically, and it has already done so worldwide. Just an all-around huge success. But that is not all, folks, as this movie is on track to become A24's highest grossing film domestically. Worldwide, it's like at number 3 right now, and still got a long way to go to surpassing Hereditary, I believe. But domestically, it is just around 1 million away from surpassing Lady Bird's 48 million domestic total, and around 3 million from surpassing Uncut Gems' $50 million total, which, given where the film is at and how well it's doing, I see no reason why it won't be able to do so. The fact that this movie has even managed to make as much as it already has just shows how successful it is, but the fact that it's about to become the studio's biggest movie ever domestically and is already one of their biggest movies worldwide is just incredible. What else is there to say? This film has done marvelously for the past several weeks, and I look forward to seeing where it continues to go. Will it still be in the top 5? We'll have to see, because while there isn't a huge weekend ahead of us, there is still a prominent new movie hitting theaters that could shake up the box office top 5, and we'll get to that later. But as for right now, this is definitely the underdog story right now. Congrats, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 4 was Firestarter, opening with $3.8 million this weekend domestically and $5.8 million worldwide. Now, I knew this movie wasn't going to perform well, but jeez Louise, this was way worse than I thought it was going to. I thought at least it would top maybe 7 million this weekend, but it could barely do that. Yikes. To make matters worse, the budget is reportedly $12 million, and where the film is at worldwide, I'm not sure it's going to be able to double that. It might surpass it, maybe, or at the very least come close, but there is no way this movie is going to double that. However, despite all the negativity going around with this movie, there is a silver lining, and that is it was a simultaneous release. It was released in theaters and on Peacock the same day, so maybe it might find an audience there on the streaming service and be somewhat successful, but still, this movie is still going to have to face an uphill battle with everything going against it. The marketing wasn't that great, reviews were horrendous, and we are right smack dab in the middle of the summer movie season, and competition is on the horizon. And so I feel like this is definitely going to be one of those movies that gets lost in the shuffle. Again, maybe it might find an audience on Peacock, but right now Firestarter is in a lot of trouble. Number 3 was yet again Sonic the Hedgehog 2, making $4.6 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $175 million and a worldwide total of $354 million. So in its 6th week, this movie continues to hold very well, maintaining its core audience. It fell 22% from last weekend, which is a very strong hold, and put its domestic total just around $25 million away from $200 million domestically. Again, I'm not sure if it's going to get to that total given where it's at right now and how much money it's making at the moment currently. And once again, summer movie competition is fierce, and this movie is definitely going to lose some steam later in the month. But even with that said, this film has still done tremendously well. It's for sure going to surpass 180 million by next week, so that's a good sign. And after weeks upon weeks of waiting, it has finally happened. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has not only surpassed the Angry Birds movie, but it has now entered the top 5 highest grossing movies based off of a video game worldwide. Finally, am I right? And we'll see if it can move up any further on the charts. I know it has to face off Uncharted and various other movies like Rampage and Pokemon Detective Pikachu and Warcraft to claim that top spot. But even if it doesn't, it still wouldn't change the fact that this movie is a huge success. It's the highest grossing video game movie domestically, so that's an accomplishment to say the least. Thank goodness. And it is also more than doubled its $110 to $90 million budget, which again, more than enough to say you're successful. There's a third movie already underway. This movie has just done very well for the studio and just video game movies in general. We'll see how much further Sonic can run laps around the box office. Again, I feel like we may start to see it slow down a bit. Pun not intended. Well, the one about Sonic running was intended, but you get the point. But anyways, yeah, it's still doing very well. I think it's still got enough weeks left in it to stay in the top 5 before it's fully out of the charts. But as for right now, yeah, Sonic continues to do very well. Number 2 was once again The Bad Guys, making $7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $66 million and a worldwide total of $166 million. So this movie continues to do very well at the box office. It fell 27% from last weekend, which is a very strong hold, and it is now officially entered the top 10 highest grossing films of the year, knocking out Jackass Forever and surpassing Dog domestically. And to further add to this film's success, it has surpassed Abominable to become DreamWorks' biggest film since How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, which is very impressive and shows how this movie is resonating more with people than DreamWorks' latest entries. Those, though, to be fair, the majority of them were affected due to the pandemic. But hey, this movie continues to do very well for itself at the very least. And thanks to the worldwide numbers, it is now definitely surpassed its $69 to $80 million budget, which is very good for this movie. It is now a certified box office success, and given where it's at, I could see it surpassing 200 million. Maybe not overblowing it per se, but I could see it definitely getting off on the cusp of surpassing it or coming very close, given how word of mouth is helping this movie out and how the movie season is for family films, animated ones especially, since that the next animated family film doesn't come out till mid-June. So this movie will still have plenty of time to leg out, as it has been doing for the past couple of weeks. It's just $4 million away from $70 million domestically. It's sure to surpass that, and once again, given where it's at, I could see it surpassing $80 million domestically. So all around, once again, another solid weekend for The Bad Guys. They're continuing to do very well, and yeah, not much more else to say. Just good job. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and that was still Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, making $61 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $292 million and a worldwide total of $697 million. So I'm sure many of you have heard about this weekend's numbers for this movie, how it was a catastrophic weekend for Doctor Strange. This is clearly the end of the MCU for sure. No. This is far from one of the worst second week drop-offs for the MCU, and it's far away from one of the worst drop-offs for any superhero movie. I mean, did we all forget what happened with Morbius back last month, and once again last year, and we had two MCU films to have significant drop-offs from their second weekends, those being Black Widow and Spider-Man No Way Home, and those films continued to be really big successes, and this movie is also doing very well. I don't want to give off the impression that a 67% drop-off is good, and or this movie just gets a pass for being a Marvel movie, but I'm just saying this is far and away from being the disaster that people are making it out to be. This is, once again, not a good hold for sure, and it's an indicator that word of mouth may not be helping this movie out as much as what people originally expected it to, but this movie is on the cusp of surpassing 300 million domestically and 700 million worldwide. Hell, by the time this video comes out, it might already surpass those milestones, and it's certainly going to become the highest grossing film domestically or maybe even worldwide of the year in a matter of days. So yes, this is a significant second weekend drop off, and it shows this movie isn't really resonating with audiences as much as former MCU movies. But like I said, with Spider-Man No Way Home and even Jackass Forever, this isn't really affecting the film in the slightest. Again, it's already the second biggest movie of the year domestically, and it's sure to become the highest grossing film of the year, both domestically and worldwide, very soon, and it's already surpassed the original Doctor Strange's entire domestic run in just 10 days, and it's already about to surpass other MCU films like Guardians of the Galaxy as well. And again, I just don't really understand where the stigma came from. I know it's a significant drop-off. Hell, I was surprised to see this drop off. I was expecting maybe 63% at maybe even 62 at most. And again, I was once again surprised by this, but again, seeing how much money this movie has made and how successful it already is, it shows that this really isn't a stigma of where this movie is at, or if this movie is failing per se. This movie is still a certified hit. Now, if it continues to decline and fall in these very significant ways, then yes, I will agree. This is where it could be seen as a failure. But as for right now, I'm not seeing any indicator of this movie failing in any way. I'm sure it's gonna pick itself back up by next week and continue to hold well amongst other films, and it's sure to become even more of a success than it already has, because once again, despite this second week drop off, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness continues to do very well. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters this weekend. And we have 2 new major wide releases, and while I know Men is one of them, I don't think it's going to make enough to crack into the top 5, despite the buzz around it from the A24 fans and especially horror fans. The buzz around it otherwise from the large majority of other people is lacking, and the marketing hasn't been all that great in my opinion, and I'm just not seeing this movie making enough to crack into the top 5. Though I did say similar things about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that has become a huge surprise hit. But with horror films, especially smaller indie type horror, I feel like it's going to be a lot more harder to reach an audience for, and I feel like this film is going for a very specific audience. So we'll see how well Men does. But the film I do think is going to make enough to crack in the top 5 is Downton Abbey: A New Era. This is not only a movie based off of the beloved TV series, but it is also in fact the sequel to the very first Downton Abbey that released in 2019, oh so long ago. Now that movie was actually kind of a very surprise hit at the box office. It made 96 million domestically alone. That is insane. And so naturally they greenlit a sequel, and obviously it's coming out this weekend. And if I'm being honest, while I don't think this is going to be anything Doctor Strange has anything to worry about, I can see this being kind of a surprise hit. Not that it's gonna like have a huge opening weekend. This is still Downton Abbey, but I do think it's got enough in it to surprise people, like how Dog did earlier this year, where that film had people going and speculating how that was going to do, and it was able to surpass many people's expectations and become, as of now, one of the 10 highest grossing films of the year. And I can see very similar things for this movie as well. The marketing has been pretty good. I've been seeing tons of promotion for it. The show has a huge fan base, and I'm sure this movie is going to tap into those fans of the audience who are going to rush out to see the sequel, as they did with the first film oh so long ago. And it's also tapping into a audience that has been slowly but surely returning to theaters. Despite it being PG, it's for an older audience, and I think this might be one of the films to really tap them in and give them a chance to return to the theater once again, given that it's based off a TV show I'm sure they loved, or they probably saw the first film and are interested in seeing this film. So yeah, not expecting a huge opening weekend, mind you, but I definitely think there's a lot working for Downton Abbey 2. But we'll see how well this movie does, and as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you liked this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.